Hello, this is your boy Feltouch here, and welcome back to another episode of the Manchester City Blue Monday podcast. Hopefully you guys have all had a brilliant weekend. Mine was certainly made by a magnificent Manchester City performance down at St Mary's to pick ourselves up a delicious 3 points away from home against Southampton. It was a magnificent performance from the Manchester City team, and we're going to be talking about that very shortly on this podcast. Now, we're going to be talking as well about the Arsenal FA Cup game next week, as well as talking about the Premier League Team of the Year, should any Manchester City players have been up for the award, because of course we've all been snubbed for that, with the exception of Leroy Sané, who's got a nomination for the Young Player of the Year award. And also, could we win the league next season? That is the question which I'm going to put out there. I want to see what you guys think in the comments section down below. With the current Manchester City team, if we make a few transfers, do you think we'll be favourites to win the league next season? So we'll be cracking on with those questions and those topics in a few moments time. But first of all, we're going to be talking about the Manchester City performance against Southampton. So it's a great win for the Blues, 3-0 up, and that is exactly what I want to see from an away day performance. It looks like the fans were loving it down there on the south coast. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but looked like some fantastic scenes. And of course, when Vincent Kompany scores, everybody's happy. So in terms of the performance in the first half, the only moment of controversy was the potential penalty, where Fraser Forster comes dashing off his line. Leroy Sané, in my honest opinion, should have shot there. He should have just found the far corner, but unfortunately decided to go around the keeper, and you're thinking, yes, here we go, Gary goals once again. Unfortunately, it just didn't seem to happen. Great save from Forster from replays. At first I was thinking, hey, I tell you what, that's a great save. Well, that was my first initial reaction. Then when you watch the replay, you think, hang on, he hasn't got a touch of the ball. But then you watch it a couple more times, you can just see the ball changes direction. He just gets a little nick on it. But interestingly, Graham Poll on BT Sport said after the game, well, imagine if the other position was changed. If it was a defender coming out and just got a little nick on the ball, but got a majority of the player, would you say that's a penalty? And he said, well, yes, it's just because it's a goalkeeper getting their hand to it, it's not a penalty. So, I mean, there's an interesting debate about that. In the end, most pundits and most of social media in the end decided, yeah, the referee did get it right, fair play to him. But that was only after watching the decision multiple times. But once again, it feels like we particularly haven't had all too much rub of the green this season in terms of refereeing decisions once again. But nonetheless, in the second half, it didn't seem to matter at all, because we've got one special man at this football club, a man held very, very dearly in my heart especially, and his name is Vincent Kompany. What a player, what a leader, what a captain. We've missed him so much this season. He's only played 4 games, he just comes back, picks up a niggling injury, picks up a different injury, comes back again. But this time I have to say that Pep Guardiola has handled the situation very, very well. He's rested him, he doesn't want to get him thrown in too often, because I'm sure that Vincent wants to play every single game. But his body isn't prepared for it. I think we could be in a sort of Ledley King sort of situation from Tottenham a few years ago. Well, he's not that bad yet, Vincent, but I feel like it could be. But when he plays on the pitch, he has such a fantastic effect on all the rest of the players. He really just seems to boost the levels of performance. The morale of the side just seems to increase, and also the defensive ability of Manchester City just seems to rise levels and levels. As good as John Stones has been this season, he's hardly the authoritative figure of Vincent Kompany at the moment. Vincent is quick, he's powerful, he's strong, and also fantastic technically on the ball as well, and that just seemed to show. But the corner ball is a miracle. We actually scored a header from a corner. I know, I genuinely didn't think this was ever going to happen again. I thought it was a myth. I think it was one of those things I was thinking, I'm never going to see it again. We should probably get one of those banners like what United used to have, because we're the bitter ones, remember, we're the bitter ones in Manchester. That we should probably get a massive banner like theirs which said 35 years or whatever since Manchester City won a trophy. How about we get one which just says, last time we scored from a corner, 0 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. Honestly, let's see how far it racks up, because we never score from a corner until Big Vinny comes back in. It wasn't the best of headers, but he leaps over Yoshida, who was an absolute beanpole, and sticks it into the back of the net. Fantastic header. City get the 1-0 lead, and it never really looked back from that point on. And we capitalised with a fantastic breakaway goal, counter-attack at speed. That seems to work like a treat at this club at the moment. Leroy Sané, he just ghosts up the pitch. Lovely touch first of all from De Bruyne. Plays it into Silva. He keeps running and then unselfishly just crossed it, and a lovely finish from Leroy. Great athletic pace, and that's one of the reasons why he's been nominated for the Young Player of the Year award. He keeps on scoring goals. He seems to score most of the time now, nearly every week it seems. Fantastic performance once again from him. And then the third goal came from Aguero. Once again, Kevin De Bruyne, lovely ball into the box. He seems to be playing a little bit more better, effectively, especially when he's played out wide. He's got one of the best deliveries in the Premier League. He picked up 2 assists. He's the top assist maker in the league this season, despite, in my honest opinion, he's not been great since Christmas, really. But a great performance from him. Lovely ball into the far post and a great header. Perhaps we can see an upsurge in De Bruyne's form. I'm telling you, if he gets a goal, he's seriously going to keep on boosting his performance-wise. But a wonderful, wonderful result. Unfortunately, it didn't matter all too much, but Manchester United, they've kept their ground on us still. Just about. They're currently on 60 points, but they've got a game in hand over us as well. We've got a game against them in a couple of weeks' time. Liverpool have got 66 points when they've played 1 game more than us. Tottenham on 71. I think we can forget about them. They just seem to be well ahead in terms of quality, and I think they've got a massive, massive aim now in trying to chase down Chelsea for the potential of winning the Premier League. Chelsea on 75, they seem to be stuttering about at the moment. Couple of injuries, and that's what happens. We've had a lot of injuries this year, lots of other teams have, and just like last season with Leicester, the team which doesn't get the most injuries and seems to have so much rest will win the Premier League. That's how it seems the most teams work out, well, relatively recently anyway, in terms of trying to win the league. So a good result for us nonetheless, and hopefully we can continue that rich vein of form. I suppose we can say that, because we never usually ever do very well against Southampton. We've only won there now twice in 6 occasions after last week's result, so hopefully we can continue our good vein of form into the Arsenal game. Now, the FA Cup game on the Sunday, the biggest joke in international history. Why we have to play on the Sunday at 3 o'clock. I've already ranted about this many times, but it's an absolute joke. On the same day as the London Marathon, so you can imagine that the transport system's going to be fairly overloaded in the city of London on that day. Plus, whacking tickets at around the price of 50 quid, which is never very, very fun at all. Why isn't the game potentially just being played down at Villa Park? Both teams have to go the same distance. I'll be a happy bunny, and I can imagine that lots more people will probably attend, but of course, the FA and the taxpayer has to pay off this burden, which is Wembley Stadium, I suppose. So, in my opponent's opinion, it should just be the final at Wembley. I mean, it really does make the occasion a lot better, and it really, I don't know what it is. Wembley sort of lost its charm on me. It's probably because I'm a bit greedy and we're there all the time, but it's still stupid why we have to play on a Sunday and not the Saturday. I mean, it's Chelsea-Tottenham. I mean, it's not exactly very far for them to get to. So, anyway, that's where I ran over. But in terms of the football game, hopefully we can go into this one and put in a similar performance. In my honest opinion, I think we're going to see a very, very similar team, but you never know what Guardiola's going to do. At the weekend, we saw Stones and Delph drop out the side. Also, Bravo stayed in goal. I think he'll be dropped. I think Caballero is now back to being the cup goalkeeper, so he'll play again. I still think he's the better goalkeeper of the two as well. And also, on top of that, I don't know really going forward whether Sterling will play or not, because he's put in some good performances against Arsenal in the first time we played them in the league this season. Second time, not so much, came on at half time. De Bruyne down the right hand side, perhaps again, I think he needs to play after having a good performance, but hopefully after 7 days of rest, City can be ready up for this final. I don't know if Arsenal have got many injury problems. I still imagine that Santi Cazorla will still be out for the game. Not sure whether Koscielny will be back in the game or not, because he picked up an injury against City a few weeks ago. I'll have to see about that, but he'll be a big miss for them. But I feel like we've got that big game mentality perhaps at times, especially at Wembley. I don't know what it is about the place, but the only time we've ever bottled it there was against Wigan and also Arsenal in the Mickey Mouse Trophy as well, whatever it's called, the Charity Shield. But apart from that, in the real big games, I feel like we should do well at Wembley. Caballero loves it. If Company plays, he loves it. Going forward, Aguero seems to do quite well there. David Silva, hopefully, will have enough quality, and with also the very, very loud Manchester City fans heading behind them as well. Hopefully, we've got enough quality to win the fixture. So, I don't know how the game will pan out. I'm not a mystic. I can't really tell what's going to happen in the future. But hopefully we put in a good shift and I'm not left disappointed and sat here ranting next Monday about how poor we were. But that's my big fingers crossed. Now, the third topic of this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about the Premier League Team of the Year. No Manchester City player has been up for the main nomination of the Player of the Year. Leroy Sané has been nominated for Young Player of the Year. In my honest opinion, I think he's done pretty well to deserve that. He scored quite a large number of goals this year, assists as well. He's going to be a huge, huge talent for many, many years to come, and hopefully we can keep hold of him. But on top of that as well, I think Raheem Sterling could have been nominated for that. I think he's had a great season for us at City. I just think there's sort of like a media agenda perhaps against him. Either way, if Sterling or Sané were nominated, I still think that Dele Alli would win it. He's had a great season, 15 goals this year, plus on top of that he's also English as well, so he's got a lot of things going in his favour, so I imagine he'll win the Young Player of the Year award. In terms of the main Player of the Year, I don't think that any City player perhaps deserves to be in it. I think that David Silva deserves to be in the Team of the Year, but not the Player of the Year. After Vincent Kompany's performance the other day, I think he deserves to be in there, and also I think Bravo, because he's the world's best goalkeeper. As you can tell, that's a joke. That's my sarcasm radar just turning on there, I'm sorry. But in terms of the Player of the Year, I think Kane, perhaps also Lukaku, who's top goal scorer, of course, in the Premier League as well. And on top of that, probably Eden Hazard and Kante both are up for it. I think Hazard will probably win it. I mean, he's got a really good performance this year. I think he's probably going to be knocking on a few doors from Barcelona and Real Madrid in the summer just of his fantastic performances. So we'll have to see how that gets on. But David Silva, for me, is the only player which could potentially go in that. But he hasn't done as well in terms of statistics and sort of those sort of goals and assists. I don't think he's that high up even on those. But when you watch him play, he's just a magician. And I think he probably deserves to be in the Team of the Year. But because Kante and Ali have had such great seasons, I don't think he'll feature in the Premier League Team of the Year, although he probably deserves it. So the final thing to talk about on this week's podcast, I asked you guys at the start of it, do you think that City could be up there to win the Premier League next season? Based on recent performances, I think we're in for a shout. If we make a few changes, we're going to have to make a lot of transfers in the summer. I mean, we're stuck with Wilfried Boney. God knows how we're going to get rid of him. He's cost us a heck of a lot of money. Can't even play at Stoke. Crouchy's bagging goals for fun there at the moment. I mean, Saido Berahino's gone to Stoke and he hasn't scored a goal for them yet, and he still manages to get a fixture every single week. So what's going on with Wilfried Boney? I don't really know what's going on, but we're stuck with him. We've got Mangala, we've got these 4 fullbacks, loads of players out of contract, Navas included, who's, despite playing well recently, I still think he's going to be shafted in the summer. Yaya Toure, will he go in the summer as well? I don't know. We've got 3 decent forwards in Iheanacho, Aguero, and also Gabriel Jesus. Will Iheanacho be there next year? I don't know. I think he probably might go out on loan. He probably needs to if he wants to find first team football and wants to improve as a player. Got Enes Unal potentially coming back as well next season. 16, 17 goals so far at whatever team he's got, FC20, is it him and St. Selena? There's a couple of players which could do a job for us if we sign. We'd probably need to sign a big man, in my personal opinion, a plan B striker, someone like a Dzeko, someone like Dzeko, sign Dzeko, someone like that. But we also need 4 new fullbacks. But based on recent form, we probably are in good stead, but it's about managing injuries and things like that. Hopefully Ilkay Gundogan back, so that seems like we've got a whole nother player back into the side, and at times last year he was genuinely quality. The only other team I think, in my personal opinion, which will be up there to win the Premier League next year with us is Tottenham Hotspur. And I'm saying this because this year they've been exceptional at times. They've only just dipped a few times in terms of getting too many draws, but defensively I think they're better than us. They've got one of the best strikers in the league and also an understudy behind him in Dele Alli and also Harry Kane. They probably just need another striker. Heung-min Son stepped in quite a few times this season. He looks like a definite player. I absolutely love Dembele. He's a wonderful player. And I think if they can keep those players fit, I think they'll be in for a shot of winning the Premier League next season. They just need to buy a striker. Don't sell anyone, and I think they'll be up there. Chelsea, I mean, they showed at the weekend, you get one injury or one player not playing and their whole system falls apart. So that's just an example of it. I don't think that Costa's got the mentality to do it. He really has bottled it recently in terms of Chelsea as well. They seem to just be faltering. I don't really know what it is. I'm sure they'll still go on and win the Premier League, but even still, they're just dipping in form at the moment. I think they're just being saved by the fact they haven't got all too many good teams left in their last remaining fixtures. On top of that, having to play in the Champions League week in, week out will really, really suffer for them. I think also Manchester United, I think they're coming better and better, but will they have the mentality to try and win it next year? I don't know. We'll have to see if they even qualify for the Champions League or not. Liverpool, I just don't think they're good enough yet, but Tottenham Hotspur, they're certainly a magnificent side, and will they be able to push for the Premier League next year? We'll have to see, but there you go. That's my penny for a few thoughts right there. Thank you very much for listening in. Remember to let me know down in the comment section down below, could City win the league next season? Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. I'll read a virtue.